It's Matt Stopa once again, and I'm back, guys. Thank you for everybody that has been viewing my videos. I've now got over 5,000 views on YouTube, and that's definitely unexpected. I started off with hardly getting anything, which is what you would expect, but it really built up, and then got on rubyflow.com, and definitely got a lot of subscribers. I think we're at like 325 right now. So I appreciate it, everybody, and definitely keep it coming. And tell everybody about this if you can. So I want to announce something a little bit different. This video I'm going to do is the first of a series on Ruby-related web development news. So I come across so many things on Reddit, Hacker News, RubyFlow, and other sites, and it just feels like for somebody who doesn't have as much time to look into those things, it'd be nice if there was a weekly or bi-weekly video cast where you could, kind of see what the latest news is. It's not going to strictly be Ruby related. There's a lot of cool things going on in the JavaScript world that I'm probably going to include as well. And just other random facts. I just bought a Google Nexus 7, the new iPad replacement, the 7-inch. And so I'll give a little review of that as well. So it's really anything I think that could be related to web development or just programming in general. So if I see a good link, I'll be definitely sharing it. So with that in mind, let's start off with some news about me. First of all, I want to announce that I'm going to basically, I've thought a lot about how I'm going to be doing these videos going forward, and I've realized that I think what makes the most sense is I'm going to try to put out hour-long videos, and in those videos, I'm going to try to go through a whole topic. Right, so something like metaprogramming, I've got about 3 videos on that right now, so roughly a half hour, maybe a little bit more. And I think it would just be helpful if maybe, it was all combined into one longer video, and so somebody could just sit down and, they can still pick what they want out of it, but I think it makes it for a more cohesive, useful unit if it's all one thing. It's more substantial in some way, right? So that, keep an eye out for that. I plan to be releasing those hopefully within the next month or two. I'll get started there. So the other thing is I do have a book I've been working on for about the last year. It's not the most in-depth book. It's more of a cursory overview for somebody who is new to Ruby and they maybe have been programmers before. So it's going to be online first, and it's also going to be in book form, but I have some parts of it that I need to complete, so I'm going to put the whole book online as a website and possibly as a PDF as well. And as I go along, you guys can comment on it and tell me where to improve it. So look out for that. I'll definitely do a video about that when it comes out. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do the first video for Ruby-related news. That's basically, I don't have a title, so that's what we're going with. All right, so the first thing I want to let you guys know about is Sublime 2.0. Just came out. It's the official 2.0 release. It's been in beta for basically forever. If you're not familiar with Sublime 2, it's what I would call the premier text editor for doing any kind of programming outside of something heavy-duty like Java. If you're doing some kind of scripting language, I personally think it's fantastic. I used to work for Vitru, which I'll get to in a minute. And a lot of the guys were big fans of Vim, and they were very good with it. And seemingly overnight, as soon as Sublime kind of came out and got its foothold in, everybody switched over. It's got some really fantastic features if you haven't tried it before. One of the things is it's very quick to look up files. Type in just a few letters, and you're able to pull up the file that you need in your project. It's got a Vim mode. If you love Vim and you really want to work with it, you can do that as well. It also supports multiple cursors, so you can select multiple lines and type things and have those results appear on multiple lines at the same time. It also has something very good. If you have used Sublime but haven't used package control, you should install it immediately. It allows you to access a plethora of Sublime Text plugins. And it's really, I have to say, it's really fantastic. It's sort of taken over for TextMate, which is obviously had been the popular text editor on the Mac up to this point. So that's just something to keep in mind. Sublime 2.0 is out, and they really just have a few more things that I'd like to see, like the ability to edit properties a little bit easier. and things like that that really I think those are the only things holding it back from really being unbeatable. So I've been using it for the last year, and I suggest you guys give it a shot too. I mentioned earlier that we're going to talk a little bit about JavaScript, and this is just a cool library I had come across. I think I saw it on Hacker News at first, but it's a lot of fun, and if you want to get into 3D graphics, it's great. It's called Three.js, and what it is it allows you, it uses WebGL and the HTML5 canvas attribute for a couple of different things. I mean, you get different functionality with each one, but you can basically make 3D games or objects or whatever you want in JavaScript and have it display in the browser. And let me tell you, it's pretty fantastic. Here's a rendering of a car, and it's a Formula One type car, and as you can tell, it looks pretty stinking good. It's right here in the browser, and to be honest, I'm pretty blown away. Now, obviously, it's not going to be like the Xbox 360 or some serious gaming platform anytime soon, but it's fun definitely to play around with, and you can think of probably a lot of practical applications for it. For any company that wants to have some kind of 3D display on their page, this is not a bad option. So you can check it out on GitHub at 3.js, and just in case you're curious, the links are on the right, or actually I guess they're below now on YouTube. I put all the links in there to all these things I'm mentioning. Also, in Rails news, Tenderlove, which Aaron Patterson is his name, he's sort of the curator of the Ruby on Rails codebase at this point. He added support for streaming in the Rails 4. He just merged that in the master. Rails 4 is obviously not completely out. It probably won't be for a while. I think they're targeting next year sometime, but this is really the first time that they've added support for something like this. In the past, you'd have to pull out one of the plugins that are, or gems I should say, that are available, but have a look if you're interested. Let's see. Also, just in case you're sort of new to the Ruby on Rails world and you want to learn about some of the different ways to gather news or just learn more about Ruby, obviously there's some of my videos, but what you can do is there's Learn Code the Hard Way by Zed Shaw. He's definitely a famous guy in the Rails world, and he didn't actually write this book. Somebody from Fog Creek Software did, but there is learncodethehardway.com, and it's got a Ruby book. That's the actual part that's written by the Fog Creek guys. Zed Shaw has written Learn Python the Hard Way, and this one is Learn Ruby the Hard Way. And it's pretty good for beginners because it basically tells you to do a lot of syntactical things where you're typing into the console and going through all the different things that you can do in the language. And Zed Shaw's theory behind it essentially is that newbies, people who are new to it, they learn best, or the hardest part is learning the syntax and sort of building that muscle memory of how do I print to the screen, how do I do all these things, how do I iterate, so rather than having to look things up constantly, this sort of, it's sort of like military style training. It gets you right into it, and it's really not a bad resource. The only negative I've seen is when I've recommended it to some people, they've sometimes found it a little bit laborious, and I'm sure that he's working on, curating that to make it a little bit better. But that's about the only negative thing. So as you go through it, if you're like, well, I've already done this for loop 3 times, well, fine, just skip it, go to the next one. As long as you're getting through it, that's what counts. And let's see, the last thing I want to bring up is, like I said, I bought that Google Nexus 7, and I have to say it's a really fantastic tablet. I've had the iPad for a couple of years now, which is really good as well, but I've heard so many bad things. I've pretty much been on the Apple ecosystem. I've got an iPhone and iPad, obviously, and MacBook for work, so I've pretty much been on the Apple ecosystem for a few years, and I've always heard, kind of mixed reviews or bad things about all the Android operating systems, the different versions out there, and the store doesn't have great apps, and there's interoperability issues between the different devices. But I have to say, I'm completely blown away. It's super fast. It's actually very easy. One of my favorite features is that it's so quick and simple to close down an app, whereas, in fact, you can close down multiple apps very easily. That's not always the case on the iPad or on anything in iOS. So I definitely recommend it. If you're looking for a small little handheld tablet. This is a very lightweight, easy to use tablet, and it's really fantastic. And I end up using it a lot to check my email, and so I end up not cluttering up my development environment quite as much, unless of course I do have to type an email. All right, everybody, so that's it, and hopefully, like I said, I mean, I'm really planning to make the quality of this better as we go along. This is just the first one, and I'll be taking notes every day to see, what news really stands out, and hopefully bring it to you guys. All right, everybody, take care, and don't forget, recommend this video to your friends. Bye.